Hello, people. Finished a book, real short one. The Historian's Heart of Darkness, subtitled Reading Conrad's Masterpiece as Social and Cultural History. Uh, am I a historian? No. I may be a submerged historian. I was real happy when I discovered that term. Uh, Historians can rattle off names and dates. I can't do that. Maybe if I had a better memory, I might be a historian, because I have certainly read enough. But I would consider myself an amateur historian, I guess. Uh, but The Heart of Darkness, I have read the book before. I have a copy. I think the copy is at the cabin. I'm not really sure. It's a very short book. It's only like 100 pages. But it is a masterpiece. And this is an annotated version, whatever the fuck that means. This book gives a little bit about Conrad's life, his childhood. It has like a chronology of what he was doing while Leopold was in the Congo, making slaves of a vast area of the earth. And it's got a little bit about some of his other books. I've never read anything else by Conrad. Maybe if I see something, I might pick it up. I'm not huge on fiction. I'm just not. But this, I guess you could call historical fiction. I love the way Conrad writes. And if you've never read the book, you should probably read it. It has been made into a major motion picture, which is a great movie. And if you don't know, Apocalypse Now is based on Heart of Darkness. Only Heart of Darkness is not in Vietnam. It's in the Belgian Congo. I don't have a lot of notes here. This book is from 2018, and it's 162 pages, total. Heart of Darkness, which is, reproduced in here, is only about 100 pages, so you got 62 pages of other bullshit. And I have my first note here is the footnote on page 67. There is a ton of footnotes. I started out trying to read them all. I did not read them all. Some of them were real basic stuff that I already knew anyway. But this, for instance, here there's 4 different footnotes just on this one page. And he's talking about a guy who had killed himself in the Belgian Congo, a European. And up here on the top of the page, they're just talking about a guy that they had given him a ride on one of the boats up the Congo River, and this guy says, "The other day I took up a man who hanged himself on the road. He was a Swede, too. Hanged himself. Why, in God's name?" I cried. He kept on looking watchfully. Who knows? The sun too much for him, or the country, perhaps. The footnote is, the only Scandinavian who committed suicide before 1891 on the caravan trail was a Dane, Captain Voss, who killed himself on 30th June 1889 at Boma. The account of this event asserts that the climate drove him to madness. And why did I think that was funny, and why did I note that? Because here in Florida, it's fucking hot as hell all the time. The sun is out all the time, beating down on your head. And Florida is just full of lunatics. To be fair to Florida, I have met some lunatics in Michigan too, just not as many. Some shit happened Friday at work with this guy. Oh, can't argue with a lunatic or a complete idiot. So I didn't even bother. Uh, Both times reading this, it is not clear that Marlowe's task is to bring back Kurtz, apparently dead or alive. Now, in the movie, in Apocalypse Now, that's abundantly clear that he is sent out there to get Kurtz. But here, it is not until he gets there. Then you find out he's on this mission to get Kurtz out of there. Kurtz, when you meet Kurtz in this book, and sort of like the movie too, you don't hear a whole lot from him. You don't see a whole lot from him. He is just a character in the book that gets talked about, and you have to infer things. The fourth paragraph, page 137. This is when Kurtz is dying. Kurtz is very sick when he picks him up, and he's gonna bring him back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anything approaching the change that came over his features I have never seen before, and hope never to see again. Oh, I wasn't touched. I was fascinated. It was as though a veil had been rent. I saw on that ivory face the expression of somber pride, of ruthless power, of craven terror, of an intense and hopeless despair. Did he live his life again in every detail of desire, temptation, and surrender during that supreme moment of complete knowledge? He cried in a whisper at some image, at some vision. He cried out twice, a cry that was no more than a breath. The horror, the horror. That's all I got here for notes. You know, in Apocalypse Now, when they first get to where Kurtz is at, to Kurtz's compound, there's heads all over the place. And, you know, the more I think about it, there's characters in this book that represent that photographer in Apocalypse Now. I think it's played by Dennis Hopper. But there's heads all over the place, all along the shore of this river. And here, Kurtz's house has some fence posts in front, and on top of the fence posts are heads. It's a really good book. Joseph Conrad is a great, great author. So read it if you get a chance. Thanks for watching.